Alright, so today's set of notes starts chapter 6. Alright, so chapter 6 is looking at functions with several variables, and we're going to be dealing with two variable functions, but everything we do with two variables could be extended to 3 or 4 if we wanted to. Alright, but like I said, we're going to stick with two variables. Just to remind you of what two variable functions are, the notation we're going to use, and then I'm going to do a simple application. Alright, so two variable functions means there are two independent variables. Alright, there's an x and a y. Right, and then we apply the rule. The rule would be the function parts: add, subtract, multiply, divide, in order to get an output. Alright, so this time we're going to plug in two values. So we plug in a pair. An x and a y goes in. That's my domain. So my domain consists of two values. And then we get one real number out. That would be the range. Usually we call it z, although we could call it anything we want to be. Alright, so it's just a function with two inputs, and we still only have one and only one output. Alright, so a simple example would be f of xy equals, 2 times x times y minus the natural log of x plus 5y squared. Alright, evaluating just means solving for. And the biggest thing about solving for is it's just these equations tend to be a little bigger, a little more complex. And be careful what you plug into where. Alright, plug in the x value in the x spot, the y value in the y spot. Alright, so here's my function f of xy, 2 raised to the x, y squared minus 4xy. We want to find the value at 3 and negative 2. So the x value is 3, the y value is negative 2, and those are my inputs. So f of 3, negative 2, just make sure you're careful. Plug in the 3 for the x, the negative 2 for the y. Excuse me. Right, make sure you're careful with the negative, especially here. It's the negative squared, so it comes out positive. You don't put parentheses. It won't come out positive, it'll come out negative. Alright, so when we simplify that, that gives us our third variable, z, or our function value, which comes out 36. Alright, so the answer to the first one, answer to A, is 36. Alright, that's its evaluation at the point 3, negative 2. Alright, the second part, part B, the new function f of xy is the natural log of x plus y cubed, where x is e squared. E squared's a number, it's just an irrational number, but it is a number, and y is 2. So f of e squared, 2, is the natural log of e squared plus 2 cubed. Well, the natural log of e squared is just 2. 2 cubed is 8, and so that simplifies to my function value 10, or my z value 10. Alright, so again, not really new, it's just two parts to it. Alright, there's an x part and a y part, and I just have to be careful when I plug it in. Alright, a simple application, and most of our applications we will stick to will be revenue, cost, and profit, just like the one variable case. We just have two variables. Alright, so when we're talking revenue, alright, revenue is still price times quantity. Alright, we'll have two prices and two quantities. Profit is still revenue minus cost. You just have to be careful when you collect like terms. We can only add things with the same variable parts. X squareds can only be added to x squared. An xy variable can only be added to an xy variable. Alright, so again, there's just a lot of moving parts in these. Alright, so a simple example of profit and revenue. Alright, so the first example, we have a concert. They have two different kinds of t-shirts. They have a t-shirt that sells for $18, that's the price of the first one. And another t-shirt that sells for $25. Total revenue is in thousands. I've got to make sure I remember it's in thousands. Everything's in thousands. X represents the 1,000 of the $18 shirts, and Y represents the 1,000 of the $25 shirt. So again, the revenue equation is just price times quantity, right? If we sell X of the first types, we get $18 for each of them. So there's the revenue generated from those sales, and then we add to the second t-shirt. Price is 25, and we're going to sell Y of those, and so there's my revenue equation. Price times revenue. Alright, cost is given to us by that cost equation. Again, everything's in thousands of dollars. Now find profit. The biggest thing with these is just make sure, so remember, profit is revenue minus cost. Make sure you're careful with your subtraction step. And make sure you're just careful writing it down. It's really easy to miswrite something, mistype something. in your calculator. All right, so first thing is make sure you distribute that negative. So everything in the cost function should have the opposite sign. So negative 4x squared, positive 6xy, negative 3y squared, negative 20x, negative 19y, and a positive 12. Collect like terms. In this case, there's actually only two like terms. The 18x can add with the negative 20x in the other one, and the 25y can add with the negative 19y. Alright, I'm going to actually write down the first three terms here, and then I'm going to add those. Negative 4x squared plus 6x times y, 3y squared. Now my negative 20 and my 18x comes out negative 2x, negative 19 plus 25y comes out positive 6y, and then the 12 at the end. Alright, so the big thing about these, again, like I said, is just make sure you're careful with the negative. There's just a lot of moving parts, and we can only add like terms together. Alright, so the last part of this is then find and interpret my profit when x is 2, y is 3. So again, it's just making sure you're very careful. You plug in 2 for the x part, 3 for the y part. So again, make sure you're just very careful when you're typing it out. It's really easy to mistype something, misplug it into the calculator. Right, when you do it, comes out 19, and now the interpret part. Alright, so remember, everything's in thousands. Profit's in thousand, x is in thousand, and y is in thousand. And so there's three parts to this. There's the 19, which represents we get, or they get. They get 19,000. You can either write the word out or the number. I think it's easier to write the number. Dollars in profit if they sell 2,000 of the $18 t-shirts and 3,000 of the $25 t-shirts. Remember, everything's in thousands. Alright, so those are the two interpreting parts. The biggest thing is to remember the thousand part. Alright, so that's the just kind of reminding you of maybe some algebra you've forgotten from your Algebra 2 class. In the next set, in the next video, the next set of notes, 6.2, part 1, we're going to look at the partial derivatives. We're going to look at the calculus of this. Alright, so that's the next video, so we'll stop there.